Olivia and Marcus met when they were both students in college. They came from different backgrounds, Olivia from a middle-class family and Marcus from a humble upbringing. But they shared a common dream. They wanted to build a better life for themselves. Both were driven, passionate, and determined to succeed. Their relationship started like a fairy tale. Olivia was drawn to Marcus's ambition and hard work. He had big dreams of becoming a successful entrepreneur, and Olivia admired his determination. She often spent late nights with him, helping him study or working on his business plans. Marcus, in turn, appreciated her kindness, intelligence, and support. He loved how she believed in him, even when things were tough. As their relationship grew stronger, they made plans for the future. After graduation, they got married, and Marcus's career started to take off. Olivia was there every step of the way, encouraging him, taking care of their home, and supporting him through the ups and downs. They bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood, and everything seemed perfect. They were happy, building a life together, with big dreams for the future. At first, Olivia was content. She loved being married to Marcus, and they were doing well in their careers. Marcus's business was growing, and they started traveling, enjoying the small luxuries they could afford. But as time went on, something began to change inside Olivia. She wasn't sure when it happened, but she felt a deep sense of restlessness. Though their life was comfortable and secure, Olivia started to feel like something was missing. She had always been supportive of Marcus's ambitions, but now she felt like she was losing herself in the process. She loved Marcus, but there was a part of her that longed for something more. She wanted to feel excited, alive, and adventurous, things that had faded from their routine over the years. Marcus, on the other hand, was focused on his work. His business continued to grow, and he often spent long hours in the office, leaving Olivia to manage the home. He didn't realize that Olivia was feeling lonely, and though they shared a home, they seemed to be growing apart. It wasn't that Marcus didn't care, he just didn't notice the changes in Olivia. He was focused on providing a better life for both of them, and in doing so, he unknowingly pushed Olivia away. Olivia started to wonder if the life they had built was all there was to their future. She missed the excitement of their early days, when they dreamed together, when everything seemed possible. Despite her growing feelings of emptiness, Olivia never imagined that she would make any drastic decisions. She loved Marcus, but deep down, she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that she was searching for something she wasn't sure she could find in her marriage. As the years passed, Olivia and Marcus settled into a comfortable routine. Life had become predictable. They had built a home, had a few children, and were living the life many people would envy. Marcus's business was thriving, and Olivia had her role as a devoted wife and mother. They were financially stable, and on the outside, everything seemed perfect. But Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Her life, while stable and secure, felt empty at times. She loved her children, of course, and she had always been there to support Marcus, but she couldn't ignore the growing restlessness inside her. She longed for more excitement, more adventure, and more connection, not just with her family, but with herself. Marcus was a great husband, and she admired his dedication to their family. He worked long hours to provide for them, always with the goal of making their lives better. But as his business grew, he became more distant, spending even more time away from home. He was always busy with meetings and calls, and Olivia couldn't help but feel alone. She missed the closeness they once shared, the simple moments of connection that had once made her feel like she was truly a part of his world. One afternoon, as Olivia was out shopping, she met someone new. His name was Derek, and he was a businessman just like Marcus. He was confident, charming, and seemed to have everything Olivia had been missing. Derek was not just attractive, he had a certain energy about him, something that sparked Olivia's interest from the moment they met. They started talking, and Olivia was surprised by how easy it was to connect with him. Derek seemed to understand her in a way Marcus no longer did. At first, Olivia thought it was just a friendly conversation. She was still devoted to Marcus, still trying to find joy in her family life. But Derek's attention was different. It was the kind of attention she hadn't felt in a long time. He listened to her, really listened, and made her feel noticed. They exchanged phone numbers, and soon their casual conversations turned into daily texts and calls. Olivia found herself looking forward to hearing from him. Derek didn't try to replace Marcus, but the excitement he brought into Olivia's life was undeniable. He would invite her to dinners at fancy restaurants, take her to art shows, and show her a life that felt different from the routine she had with Marcus. Every time she spent time with Derek, she felt alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't about the money or the luxury. It was the thrill of feeling special again. As the weeks passed, Olivia began to question her feelings. She knew it wasn't right to entertain thoughts of someone else while still married to Marcus, but she couldn't help herself. The connection with Derek was something she hadn't felt in a long time. She found herself torn between the man she had built a life with and the man who had awakened a sense of passion and excitement in her heart. Olivia knew that her life was about to change, but she wasn't sure which direction to go. She had built everything with Marcus, but Derek made her feel something new. She was faced with a difficult decision: stay with Marcus and keep her family intact, or take a risk and pursue something unknown with Derek. Olivia tried to ignore the growing attraction she felt for Derek, but it became harder to do so with each passing day. What started as innocent conversations had turned into something much more. Derek was always there, always attentive, always ready to listen to her, something Marcus hadn't done in a long time. She began to look forward to their talks, feeling a spark inside her that she hadn't felt in years. She had never planned for this. She never expected to feel this kind of connection with someone else while still married to Marcus. But the more time she spent with Derek, the more she realized how deeply dissatisfied she had become in her marriage. She loved Marcus, of course, but the life they had built together had started to feel routine. He was often busy with his business, and while he worked hard to provide for their family, he seemed to have forgotten about the emotional connection that had once been the heart of their relationship. One evening, Derek invited Olivia to dinner at an upscale restaurant, the kind of place where everything was elegant: the soft lighting, the fine wine, the delicious food. Olivia had almost forgotten what it was like to feel special in such a way. Derek was charming, making her laugh, and for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt truly seen. Derek's compliments were genuine, and his attention was focused solely on her. She felt alive again, as if she had been awakened from a long slumber. After that evening, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about Derek. Every time she was with him, she felt like the center of his world. When they spoke, it wasn't just about small talk or polite conversation. They talked about their hopes, their fears, and their dreams. Derek made Olivia feel important, something she hadn't realized she missed so much. The guilt began to set in, but Olivia couldn't ignore the way Derek made her feel. She loved Marcus, but there was something missing in their marriage. It wasn't just the physical attraction that had faded, it was the emotional connection, the bond that had once made them inseparable. Olivia began to wonder if Marcus could ever truly understand how she felt. She hadn't even realized how disconnected she had become from him until she found someone who seemed to notice every detail about her. Derek wasn't perfect, but he offered Olivia something she didn't even know she needed: a sense of excitement, a sense of being truly desired. And Olivia couldn't help but wonder if this was what she had been missing all along. But despite everything, a part of her still loved Marcus. He was the man she had built a life with, the man she had raised children with. But Marcus seemed like a distant memory compared to the man Derek was becoming in her life. Olivia started to feel torn. She didn't want to hurt Marcus, but she also couldn't ignore the growing feelings she had for Derek. The attraction was undeniable, and Olivia realized that the path she was on was leading her to a place he wasn't sure she could return from. Olivia's heart was torn in two. She had always loved Marcus, and their marriage had once been everything she had dreamed of. But as she spent more time with Derek, She began to realize that her connection with Marcus had faded over the years. Derek made her feel alive again, something she hadn't felt in a long time. But the guilt she felt for even thinking about leaving Marcus was overwhelming. She couldn't ignore the pull she felt toward Derek. Every conversation, every moment they spent together, seemed to make her question her choices. Derek was everything Marcus wasn't. He was attentive, spontaneous, and full of life. He was the kind of man who made Olivia feel important, the kind of man who listened to her, understood her, and didn't take her for granted. He made her feel like the woman she used to be before the responsibilities of marriage and family took over her life. On the other hand, Marcus was the man she had built a life with. He was loyal, hardworking, and committed to their family. He was the father of their children and the partner she had trusted for years. But over time, Marcus had become more focused on his business than their relationship. He didn't notice how much Olivia had changed, how she longed for something more. She had tried to talk to him, but he was always too busy or too tired to really listen. Olivia knew that leaving Marcus wasn't a decision to be made lightly. It wasn't just about her happiness. It was about their children, their family. She had promised to be there for Marcus through thick and thin, and now she was questioning that promise. But Derek's presence in her life was like a breath of fresh air. He gave her the excitement and attention she had been missing for so long. Yet, with every moment she spent with Derek, the guilt grew heavier. Olivia knew that Marcus would be devastated if he found out about her growing feelings for someone else. He had been nothing but good to her, and she had always been proud of the life they had built together. But now, as she looked at Derek, she couldn't deny that something had changed inside her. She was no longer content with the way things were. The struggle between love and desire was consuming her. Olivia had always believed in the importance of loyalty and commitment, but now she was facing a crossroads. Should she stay with Marcus and continue the life they had, even though she felt unfulfilled? Or should she take a leap and follow her heart, even if it meant leaving behind everything she had known? Every time Olivia thought about making a choice, her mind was filled with questions. Was she being selfish? Was she chasing something that wasn't real, just a fleeting feeling? Or was she finally realizing that she deserved more, that she deserved to be happy, truly happy? She didn't have an answer yet, but the decision weighed heavily on her heart. Olivia knew that whatever choice she made, there would be no turning back. After weeks of feeling torn, Olivia knew she couldn't keep living with this inner conflict. Every day felt like she was carrying the weight of two lives. The one she had built with Marcus, and the one she was imagining with Derek. The guilt was heavy, but the longing for something different was even stronger. One evening, after the kids were in bed, Olivia sat down in the living room, staring out of the window. The moonlight filled the room, casting a soft glow on the furniture. She could hear Marcus's soft breathing in the other room, but it felt like they were worlds apart. The house that had once been full of love and laughter now felt like a quiet prison. She thought about the years she had spent with Marcus, their college days, their wedding, their children. She had loved him deeply, and in many ways, she still did. But something had shifted. It wasn't just about Derek anymore. It was about Olivia herself, her own needs, her own desires, and her own sense of happiness. She realized that she had been putting everyone else's needs first for so long that she had lost touch with her own. The thought of leaving Marcus was terrifying. She knew it would break his heart, and it would hurt their children. She had built her life around Marcus and their family, and leaving all of that behind seemed like an impossible decision. But at the same time, she couldn't keep living in a relationship that no longer made her feel truly alive. The next day, Olivia found herself sitting across from Derek at a cafe, their usual meeting spot. Derek could see that something was weighing on her, and he didn't push her to speak. Instead, he simply waited, letting her gather her thoughts. "I've made my decision," Olivia said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I'm going to leave Marcus." Derek's expression softened, and for a moment, Olivia could see the kindness in his eyes. He didn't say anything at first, giving her the space to continue. "I don't want to hurt him," she added, looking down at her hands. "But I can't keep pretending that I'm happy when I'm not. I've been thinking about this for so long, and I've realized that I need to do this for myself." Derek reached across the table and gently took her hand. "You deserve to be happy, Olivia. You deserve to feel like yourself again. But I want you to know that this isn't an easy decision. It's not a decision to be taken lightly, and I will support you no matter what you choose." Olivia nodded, feeling a rush of emotions. She was scared, relieved, and uncertain all at once. But deep down, she knew she was making the right choice. It wasn't about Derek. It was about her own growth, her own journey. She had spent so many years living for others, and now it was time to live for herself. That evening, Olivia told Marcus. Her heart ached as she saw the shock and sadness in his eyes. He didn't understand at first, and she didn't expect him to. But she explained her feelings, her need for change, and how she couldn't ignore the life she had been yearning for. Marcus didn't argue. He just listened, and Olivia could see that he, too, knew their marriage had changed. It wasn't the easy way out, but it was the only way she could move forward. Olivia made the hardest decision of her life, and as she left their home, she felt a mixture of fear and hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she had to embrace it, alone, but stronger than ever. After leaving Marcus, Olivia moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't grand, but it was hers. For the first time in years, she felt like she had control over her own life. She was free from the daily routine, the responsibilities that had weighed her down for so long. The space was small, but there was a sense of peace in it that she hadn't felt in ages. The days following her decision were filled with a mix of emotions. Olivia was happy to be free from the tension she had been living with, but she also felt a deep sadness. She missed the life she had shared with Marcus, even though she knew it was the right choice for her. It was difficult, but she was determined to move forward and find happiness on her own terms. Derek was supportive, but Olivia quickly realized that his life was very different from what she had imagined. He was kind and charming, always eager to take her out to fancy dinners or surprise her with flowers. But his world was also full of expectations. He was used to being in control, and Olivia often felt like she was being swept along in his whirlwind of excitement and luxury. She appreciated the attention, but there was a part of her that felt like she was losing herself in it. Derek didn't pressure her, but Olivia began to see that his life was built around wealth and status. He had grown up in a world where money was never an issue, where people were always eager to please him. Olivia felt grateful for his support, but she also began to question whether this was truly the life she wanted. The lavish dinners and gifts were nice, but they couldn't replace the deeper connection she had been missing. One evening, as she sat in her apartment, reflecting on her journey, Olivia realized something important. She wasn't just running toward Derek. She was running toward a version of herself that she had lost along the way. She had spent so many years focused on others, Marcus, their family, the life they had built, that she had forgotten what made her happy. Derek's world had given her the excitement and attention she had craved, but it wasn't what would bring her true peace. She needed to find that peace within herself. Olivia began to spend more time on her own. She started doing things that made her feel good, things she had put off for years. She went for long walks in the park, took up painting again, and started reading books she had always wanted to explore. She realized that her happiness didn't depend on anyone else's approval or love. It came from within her. Derek noticed the change. He respected Olivia's need for space, but Olivia could see that he was starting to feel distant. The life they were building wasn't as easy as it had seemed at first. She appreciated his kindness, but she knew that she couldn't build her happiness on someone else's idea of success. As time passed, Olivia began to feel more certain about the path she was on. She didn't need Derek's approval, and she didn't need to return to the life she had with Marcus. She just needed to keep moving forward, learning, growing, and finding her true self in the process. As Olivia continued to settle into her new life, she couldn't help but think about her past. The memories of Marcus, The life they had built together still lingered in her mind. She had left him in search of something more, but now she found herself missing the simpler, more meaningful moments they had shared. One afternoon, while sorting through some boxes in her new apartment, Olivia found an old photo album. It was filled with pictures of her and Marcus in their younger years, images of their college days, their wedding, and the early years of their marriage. She paused for a moment, flipping through the pages. The smiles on their faces were genuine, full of hope and excitement for the future. As she looked at the photos, Olivia realized that she wasn't missing Marcus as a person, but rather the version of herself she had been when they were together. She had been so full of dreams and possibilities back then. But over the years, she had become consumed by the pressures of life, losing herself in the daily responsibilities and routines. She had forgotten who she was outside of being a wife and mother. This realization was both comforting and painful. Olivia knew that her decision to leave Marcus had been the right one, but it didn't erase the love and connection they had once shared. It wasn't just about Derek, or the excitement he had brought into her life. It was about finding herself again, reclaiming the parts of her that she had lost. Olivia began to take a closer look at her life and what truly made her happy. She had always loved writing, something she had set aside years ago. She decided to start journaling again, capturing her thoughts and emotions as she navigated this new chapter in her life. Writing gave her a sense of clarity and peace that she hadn't felt in a long time. She also spent more time with her friends. Over the years, she had become so focused on her family and marriage that she had drifted away from the people who had once been a big part of her life. Now, as she reconnected with them, Olivia realized how much she had missed their support and the freedom they had once provided her. One evening, Olivia decided to visit a local cafe she used to frequent with Marcus. It felt strange walking into the place alone, but there was something comforting about the familiar atmosphere. As she sipped her coffee, Olivia began to reflect on her journey. She had been through a lot of changes, but she was beginning to understand that this was just the beginning of a new chapter. She wasn't defined by her past decisions. She had learned valuable lessons from both Marcus and Derek. She had discovered that the most important thing was to be true to herself, to follow her heart, and to never lose sight of the person she had always wanted to be. As she left the cafe that evening, Olivia felt a sense of calm wash over her. She was still uncertain about the future, but for the first time in a long time, she was excited to see where life would take her next. Olivia had spent months figuring out who she was without the labels of wife and mother that had once defined her. It wasn't an easy journey, but it was one that had brought her a sense of clarity she hadn't had in years. She had learned to enjoy her own company, to pursue her passions, and to embrace the freedom she had gained after leaving Marcus. She wasn't running away from her past. She was learning from it. One afternoon, as Olivia sat in her apartment reading a book, she smiled at the thought of how far she had come. She remembered how uncertain she had been when she first left Marcus, unsure of what the future held. Now she felt stronger, more grounded. She knew that she didn't need anyone else to complete her. She was enough on her own. Olivia had started taking on more work at the local community center, offering her time and skills to help others. She had always loved helping people, and the work gave her a sense of fulfillment she hadn't expected. As she spent more time at the center, she realized that she had a natural ability to connect with people, to offer them guidance and encouragement when they needed it most. Her new life wasn't perfect, but it was hers. She had learned to appreciate the little things, a quiet morning with a cup of tea, an afternoon walk through the park, the simple joy of reading a book or painting. She no longer felt rushed or pressured to live up to anyone else's expectations. For the first time in a long while, Olivia felt like she was living life on her own terms. Yet there were still moments when she thought about Marcus. She wondered how he was doing, if he had moved on, and if he ever thought about her. She hadn't seen him in months, but she had learned to stop wondering about things she couldn't change. She couldn't go back to the past, and even if she could, she wasn't sure if she would. She had grown so much since their separation, and she knew that she had to keep moving forward. One day, out of the blue, Marcus called. Olivia had been expecting it for some time, but when the call came, her heart skipped a beat. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hello," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Olivia." Marcus's voice was soft, filled with emotion. "I've been thinking about you a lot lately. I know we've both been through a lot, and I just want to know how you're doing. I don't want to interfere with your life, but I needed to reach out." Olivia felt a mix of emotions. She hadn't expected this, but hearing Marcus's voice brought back a flood of memories. She paused for a moment, collecting her thoughts. "I'm doing well, Marcus," she said, her voice steady. "I've been taking time for myself, learning who I am. I've been busy with work, and I'm focusing on my own happiness." There was silence on the other end of the line before Marcus spoke again. "I'm glad to hear that," he said quietly. "I just wanted to let you know that I've moved on too. I want the best for you, Olivia." Hearing those words brought a sense of peace to Olivia. It wasn't easy, but she realized that they had both found their own paths. Their relationship had ended, but they had both learned valuable lessons. Olivia ended the call with a sense of closure. She had come a long way, and for the first time in a long time, she was truly at peace with the person she had become. Olivia stood in front of the mirror one morning, taking a long look at herself. It had been almost a year since she had made the decision to leave Marcus, and in that time, she had learned so much about herself. She had faced fears, struggled with guilt, and wrestled with doubts. But now, as she looked at her reflection, she saw someone who was stronger, more confident, and more at peace than she had ever been before. Her life was different now. It wasn't perfect, and there were still challenges to face. But Olivia had learned to embrace the freedom she had gained. She had stopped living for others and started living for herself. She had rediscovered her passions and focused on what made her truly happy. And most importantly, she had learned to trust herself. She had begun a new chapter in her life, one that was full of opportunities. She had taken up new hobbies, met new people, and even started dating again, though she was careful not to rush into anything. She wanted to make sure that when she did open her heart to someone else, it would be for the right reasons, because she wanted it, not because she felt lonely or needed someone to complete her. One day, as she walked through the park, Olivia thought about everything that had happened. She had been through so much, but each experience had taught her valuable lessons. She had learned that happiness didn't come from outside sources. It came from within. She had learned that love wasn't about being with someone else to fill a void, but about being whole and content on her own first. As Olivia sat on a bench by the lake, watching the children play and the sun set behind the trees, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything she had gone through. She wasn't the same person she had been a year ago. She had grown, and she was still growing. There were still challenges ahead, but she was no longer afraid of them. She knew that no matter what came her way, she had the strength to face it. Olivia had made mistakes in the past, but she no longer carried them as burdens. She had learned from them, and they had helped shape the woman she was becoming. She had also learned that it was okay to let go of the past, to forgive herself, and to move forward with a clear heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Olivia stood up and began walking home. She felt lighter than she had in a long time. There was a new sense of purpose in her steps, a feeling that the future was full of possibilities. She didn't know exactly what the future held, but for the first time, she was excited to see where life would take her. She was ready to continue her journey, to embrace whatever came next with an open heart and a clear mind. Olivia had found her peace, and now she was ready to live her life fully on her own terms.